All right, let's talk about MicroStrategy, ticker MSTR. You've probably seen this company's name popping up everywhere, and for a really good reason. It's a stock that acts like it's on a roller coaster, basically 24/7. So in this explainer, we're going to peel back all the layers and figure out what is really going on with one of the most talked about companies on the entire market. And I'm not kidding about that roller coaster. Just look at this. In one recent week, the stock shot up nearly 16%. But then you zoom out and look at the whole year, and it's down a massive 53%. I mean, how is that even possible? How can a stock be up so much and down so much all at the same time? This isn't just your normal market movement. There's something really unique happening here. So that's the big question here, right? Why? What's the engine driving these insane swings? Is this some kind of genius level strategy, a completely reckless gamble, or something else entirely? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
And here's how we're going to tackle it. First, we're going to unpack the company's strange split personality. Then we'll take a look at the wild financial machine they've built to just keep buying Bitcoin. And finally, we'll explore the three very different futures this whole strategy could lead to.
Okay, so what is at the absolute heart of this whole thing? The key to understanding MicroStrategy, and I mean the real key, is to get that when you buy the stock, MSTR, you're not just buying one company. You're actually buying two totally different businesses that just happen to live under the same roof, sharing the same stock ticker. So, on one side, you got this totally legitimate 35-year-old software company. They build these sophisticated, AI-powered analytics platforms that have reportedly saved their customers hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the normal, predictable side of the business. But then, on the other side, you have what is basically a giant Bitcoin investment fund. And this isn't some small side hustle. MicroStrategy is the biggest corporate holder of Bitcoin in the world. This side of the business is the complete opposite of predictable. It is a high-risk, high-reward, leveraged bet on the future of cryptocurrency. So, what do we mean when we say leveraged play? Well, think of it like this. If Bitcoin's price goes up by, say, 10%, you might expect a company holding a bunch of Bitcoin to also go up around 10%. But with MicroStrategy, it's different. Because they actually borrow money to buy even more Bitcoin, their stock price tends to juice Bitcoin's moves. So a 10% jump in Bitcoin might cause a 15 or even 20% jump in MSTR. But, and you gotta remember this, that leverage is a two-way street. When Bitcoin falls, MSTR often falls way, way harder. And the sheer size of this bet is it's hard to even wrap your head around. A recent filing showed that as of mid-April 2024, the company was holding nearly 215,000 Bitcoin. Let that number sink in for a second. This isn't just dipping a toe in the crypto pool, this is a full-on cannonball off the high dive. And to put that number in perspective, their stash represents more than 1% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist. I mean, they've cornered a huge slice of this entire asset class. They have, for better or for worse, tied the destiny of their company and its stock price directly to the future of Bitcoin. Okay, so that leads to a pretty obvious question, right? How in the world do they afford all this? How does a regular software company get its hands on the capital to buy tens of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin? Well, they've built something that you can only really describe as a Bitcoin accumulation machine. The amount of money they're raising is just immense. In just the first few months of 2024 alone, MicroStrategy raised over $1.4 billion. And they did it by issuing all sorts of different financial products. They're not just playing in the market, they're actively creating new ways to fuel their Bitcoin shopping spree. So how does this machine actually work? It's really a surprisingly simple four-step loop. Step 1, they invent unique financial products. Think of them as new kinds of debt and special stock. Step 2, they issue and sell these products to big investors on the open market. Step 3, this process raises billions of dollars in cold hard cash. And finally, step 4, they take all that cash and immediately use it to buy more Bitcoin. And then they just repeat the cycle over and over again. In this table here kind of shows you the different parts they use to make it all happen. You've got the main stock, MSTR, that's the one we all know. But then you have these other tickers like STRC, STRK, and STRD. These are those specialized financial products we were just talking about. They're the gears of that accumulation machine, the things they sell to big institutional investors to get the cash they need. Which makes you wonder, right? I mean, in a world that is full of different investment options, Why on earth would a giant institution pour millions of dollars into these brand new, very specific products from a company that's making this huge, risky bet on crypto? What's in it for them?
The answer, my friends, is simple. Yield. This chart, which actually comes from one of their own presentations, tells you everything you need to know. The tax equivalent yield on their STRC product is shown here at nearly 18%. Now, compare that to junk bonds or bank securities, which are way down there, closer to 6%. For a huge firm like Strive, which just dropped $50 million on this, that massive difference is incredibly attractive. MicroStrategy figured out how to create a product that big institutions crave, and that, in turn, fuels their Bitcoin buying. It's brilliant, really.
So we understand the what and we understand the how. We've got a dual identity company using a financial machine to place a historic bet on Bitcoin. Now for the most important part, where does this all lead? Let's explore the 3 most likely futures for MicroStrategy.
First up, the bull case. This is the dream scenario, the future that the company is betting everything on. In this world, Bitcoin's price doesn't just go up, it skyrockets, basically becoming a global digital gold standard. Because of their leverage, MSTR's stock price soars even higher. At the same time, their AI software business just keeps humming along, and even more institutions rush to buy their high-yield products. It would be the absolute perfect storm of success.
Then, of course, there's the bear case, the dreaded crypto winter. In this scenario, the bet goes horribly, horribly wrong. Bitcoin's price crashes, wiping out the value of their #1 asset. Governments could slap on harsh new crypto regulations, or even worse, imagine a catastrophic security breach where they lose their holdings. And remember that leverage we talked about? It would now work against them, amplifying their losses and putting an insane amount of pressure on the company's survival.
But the most likely future, at least based on what we're seeing right now, is the base case. In this scenario, Bitcoin doesn't crash to zero, but it also doesn't shoot to $1 million overnight. Instead, it just keeps doing what it's been doing, a volatile path of dramatic booms followed by dramatic busts. And MicroStrategy stock continues to be a high-risk proxy for Bitcoin, just with the volume turned all the way up. And that accumulation machine, it just keeps on running, issuing new products to buy the dips. Essentially, it's more of the same wild ride we're already on.
So what's the big takeaway here? MicroStrategy has made one of the boldest, most audacious bets in corporate history. It is a move that will either be looked back on as visionary genius or studied for generations as a cautionary tale. This classic quote from Warren Buffett really sums up their entire strategy. They are playing the long game with extreme patience, just waiting for their massive Bitcoin bet to pay off. The only question left is, will they be right?